السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. من هو؟ أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق. إيش؟ Why? ليظهره على الدين كله. ولو كره even if there's كراهة ولو كره المشركون. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. This member is hamd of Allah. This masjid is hamd of Allah. This four walls is hamd of Allah. But nothing is greater than the praise of Allah, literally on Friday, than you. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us in the sound hadith that on the day of Friday in Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call the people of Jannah. And people ask, how will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala address the people? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained, Jummah here is going to be like Jummah where? In Jannah. Allah will speak to us and we will honor Allah. And today we do not see Allah, but innal hamda lillah. Nahmaduhu, indeed all praise and thanks are due to Allah. Because we praise Allah, we thank Allah, we acknowledge Allah, but it's not enough. Then we tie Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws to this dunya, and that's what we call trust. You trust Allah. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِن شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا. But Allah, all of these things are great. I believe in you, I prayed Jummah today. But last night wasn't so Jummah like. You know what I mean? Last night wasn't like now. But didn't you believe in Allah then too? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extended mercy to then too. So today's Friday is not like a Sunday sermon where you say, Allah forgive me for all the bad things that I'm going to do again this week. Not the things that I did last week. Well, Allah, you know I have those habits. That's what Jummah is about, saying, look, Allah, what's done is done. Friday is to move forward. Inna alhamdulillah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi. So we said this, and I pray that this is enough of an introduction for you all know what I said already. This is what we call khutbatul haja. It's a quick reminder, who is Allah? What I would like to do and remind myself are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you didn't hear once, but we packaged in a series of khutbahs from last April till when I didn't feel so well. And between that time, in 9 khutbahs, we covered 3 major things. We wanted to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can see most faces are like, yeah, I think I remember those khutbahs. All those khutbahs comprise 3 words. Beneficial knowledge, a complete Muslim. وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. We know who the mushrik is, but man Muslim, who is the Muslim? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains throughout the Quran. And if you haven't caught season 1 yet, this is the recap. Beneficial knowledge. Spirituality that doesn't judge anyone. If I have knowledge, but then I tell, well, your shirt is red, haram alayk. What is that? That's not your spirituality, that's me putting my nafs on you. Khata, right? But the third and the most active was where we left off, was activism. We had to have ilm, beneficial knowledge. We had to be connected to Allah through tasawwuf. But what was the last thing that we all left with? And that was around the Irvine 11 time. That was activism. Sah, but we never completed this topic. We did 9 khutbahs. The 10th asks us, how do we complete the topic of activism? But that's not today's khutbah. All of those entire khutb, 9 of them together, could be summarized in one ayah of the Quran, which Imam Malik rahimahullah and Imam Shafi'i both have aqwal about this statement, that if Surah Wal Asr, just Wal Asr, Innal insana lafi khusr, law lam yunazzil min al-Qur'ani, if there was nothing revealed in the Quran siwa except this, it would be enough for all of mankind. So today, listen to one ayah and then leave with that ayah. And in the second khutbah, we'll open up something refreshing, something new, something that would compel you to say, maybe I should watch all the things that the masjid puts out for us. So when you hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in His glorious book, Innal insana lafi khusr, you realize we are at a loss, but there are 4 exit signs. There's, I think it's, what is it, Culver, then Jeffrey, then Sand Canyon. There are 4 points on the 405 to Jannah, and that is, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And what was Iman? Iman was ilm, spirituality, and activism. We finished that last season. The new thing that we want to approach now is آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, not fi'lu salihat. Does that make sense? Amal is something that I have an intention to do, and that is to become a complete believer. But again, we keep hearing this buzzword, complete believer. So let's take it and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the next? We all have iman, we all pray Jummah. What could we do more beneficially? وَأَنْتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, to encourage the people towards good. And I'm going to put a period there. تَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Sabr takes a long time, and I couldn't give a khutbah about it, because that would be an oxymoron. To give you a khutbah, everyone, let's practice patience now. It's a wonderful test. We can't. It takes time. We learn it. So as we step into this new, clearer section of what we want from ourselves, we say to Allah, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We finish the recap and we say Allah from ibadah and isti'ana, from worship and asking for consistent help. I can worship Allah, but I can't worship a human being. But I need your help to do something. So how do we interact? This is the second season of what we want from a complete human being, and that is the Islamic personality. I pray and ask that you will hear this word from me as we continue to speak, because we spoke about the big picture in April. Now we're going to start talking about smaller things. The human relationship between us and Allah, and the human relationship between myself and my friend, and Sufyan, and Isa, and Umar. How do I interact with Ammu? How does, when Ammu says, you don't come in the masjid with shorts, he's right, bro. It's a place of worship. But you're like, oh, tell them. You know what? I went and told them sometime in June. They weren't happy with what I said. So young people, maybe throw me a bone. Maybe we need to interact with them a little bit differently. Maybe. Or maybe I'll keep being obnoxious and seeing who breaks first. Youth, maybe we need to change our ways, the self-reflection. So we take 2 step backs, and now we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the self, what is it that we can improve? And the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to us in the 3rd revelation to all of mankind, the revelation starts with اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق يا أيها المزمل مدثر. And then most of the narrations tell us, نون والقلم وما يسطرون. Immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is 4 revelations. The first revelation was read, use your intellect, use your brain. The 4th revelation was, and he's swearing, but by the pen, not by what I just made up yesterday or what you heard in one lecture. It's about what Islam has been from not Muhammadur Rasulullah, but self-reflection leads us to the last khutbah that I gave you. And that was surah number 42, ayah number 13. You're all with me. And we remembered that self-reflection wasn't about Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said, you're going to have a relationship with me, na'budu, but isti'ana is going to be with human beings. And I'm going to say, Amma, what do you think about this? Well, I don't think this is good. And I'm going to take, because the fruit hangs above. So you see, this self-reflection is a constant balance. But we take it the step further now. What is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encouraged us throughout the Quran? And this is the only part I want you to remember of the khutbah. What is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is literally one of the last things I said, and it disturbed the elders, so I'll say it again with some wisdom. The whole Quran, 632 pages, it doesn't have a lot of laws. You know what? It has a lot of stories. It has a lot of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, those guys messed up, Ad and Thamud, and those people who killed the cow, and man, those, remember we did it in the journey. Allah said, I could forgive them too. Why don't we come to what Allah wanted? Forgiveness. Isti'ana. Forgive, and your relationship will be made. So I am going to open up a deeper part of the Quran that was showed to me from my teachers. We did the overview last year. During Ramadan, we did a more ayah by ayah. Here, I would like to start sharing one point. Have you noticed in the Quran, as you read cover to cover, not one section, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps telling you many, many different stories, but He gives you the extreme example of all of those stories. If you get in a fight with your wife and you get divorced, if the people of Ad, and when this happened, they killed. So Allah is giving us what, subhanahu wa ta'ala? The extreme case. You know, when we fight with each other, what do we quote the most? Quran. When did my relationship with you become that extreme? That I have to tell you, those guys went to hell, watch out, you might too. Quran didn't ask for that. So again, I only ask us to approach ourselves. When you hear a lecture and you're like, that sheikh, he said this, he looked, yes, that sheikh can't help the way he looks. Sometimes we get sick, sometimes we don't, sometimes we're excited. But I ask you to leave here knowing this section of Quran. This is Surah Nisa, ayah number 26. We did this once in a khutbah together. But I'm asking you to revisit it. And then we'll end the first khutbah on self-reflection. How can I become the complete, knowledgeable, spiritual, active person? How can I do this? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ties all of this together. And He says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ. Allah yuridu liyubayina. He wants things to be bayyin. وَيَهْدِيَكُمْ سُنَنَ الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. And He wants you to be guided like not just the ummah of this prophet. مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. Everybody from Nuh, Ibrahim, wa Musa, wa Isa. So I'm asking us to do a self-reflection, and on that, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you forgiveness, and bi-idhnillah we will open and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the second khutbah an opportunity for us to reflect on the relationship between our parents and our relationship between our spouses. Make dua between the sittings of the khutbah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a moment on Friday where the dua is not rejected. Young people, I busted on you today. Ask Allah, maybe this time, round 2, maybe He has the right thing going. Ask yourself. And I look only at you guys because I don't have my glasses on. So it's just in a random direction towards wherever the young people are. They usually sit in the back. So my salams to them. Between the khutbahs, make the dua to Allah to make us complete believers. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما as you say the durood, say, if you choose to say it loudly, that's your opinion. But when you say it, Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina, sayyidina. Think about what you are saying. Where are you sending these salams? Ibrahim alayhi salam, kama sallayta. And the same way that Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's family came down. I'd like you to think about these things, because everything I said from the first khutbah is in a perfect example, and that is Muhammad Rasulullah. So it wasn't sallallahu alayhi wasallam's dress alone. It was something specific that I have lost. And that was his relationship with human beings. For so many of us measure each other. Oh, you've got a kid. You must be and I size you up based on what I see. I don't ask what we said in the Jummah. Remember the Eid khutbah? Afshu salam. First ask, how are you? And if someone looks sick or looks hungry, he's like, hey bro, did you eat? I didn't. Lie. And then if that person has a problem, shake their hand, say, Allah will make it better. What? And stand at night and pray for that person. Then tomorrow when you come and say, I have this problem, then I can say, here, I have an advice for you. I made dua for it on a day. I love you, so that's why I did. See it? Now it makes sense. But if I say, brother, my problem is, you know what Allah says in the Quran? But the Quran is the nth degree. I'm trying to figure out, like here, right now. Like, give people hope in Allah. This is self-reflection. For maybe my words may have taken your hope in Allah away. I ask for your forgiveness. But know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us these very beautiful gems. And when we say the words, Oh Allah, make us amongst the ummah of Muhammadur Rasulullah, now with me. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد Majid. We add to the durood as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Sayyidini. So sometimes when I say Barik ala Muhammad, I should actually be saying Sayyidina Muhammad. I want you to find a comfortable groove. Maybe it doesn't work in Arabic, but the way you carry yourself around women is the way Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. He carried himself a certain way. Yes, he interacted, had business transactions, and yes, you know it's in Bukhari, but we don't like to talk about it. So I'm asking you, why don't we act like Rasulullah? And I will sit on the words of Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an. These are the words of Ali, not mine. Who cares what we have to say? Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an came on the mimbar, and I'm asking you a question in your brain. When was the first time he ever ascended the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give a khutbah? It was the day or the week who had just passed away. You know, right? So this is the greatest fitna in all of history. After the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, many of the ulama, many scholars say the death of Uthman radiallahu anh was the greatest catastrophe to the ummah. And who steps up to the plate? I'm not going to make any references, but when the star is not there, who steps up to the plate? Only the true intentioned person. You can make a Knicks reference if you'd like to. So you can think about this. Someone then steps up to the plate and says, I'm going to take care of this. Ali radiallahu ta'ala an, as the greatest person at that time to take care of the ummah, passed away. Ali radiallahu an came up to here on the mimbar. And he said, literally, he just sprinted up. Strong, ready to go. He walked up to the mimbar, looked out and said, you all need a doing man, not a speaking man. For if we were going to speak, then I would win because I'm speaking here, right? You guys are not allowed to talk. It's in the fiqh books. I could say whatever I want. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى Indeed, Allah has enjoined, Allah has solidified, istaqama has made firm for even us who try justice. So was Ali radiallahu an standing up there as Ali radiallahu an? Or was he standing behind the shield of Islam? I don't know. I know in my heart, but I'll let you answer. You know why he was there, not from up here, but what can I do for my religion? How can I walk? How can I talk? How can I reflect? Because tajweed in Quran, don't worry, I put everything online. Now let's become good people. Quran is for the best people and for the best person. Let us now use this as a self-reminding reflector. I ask you to go back to 2 reflections. Last week's khutbah from Sheikh Mufti Farhan, beautiful. I don't think it's up yet, but I spent some time with him. And January 27th khutbah of Sheikh Jamal Diwan. Beautiful, beautiful khutbah. You will see a connection between last week's, the 27th, and what I said today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasn't asking us to judge the people. He was asking us to judge the self. And when Muhammadur Rasulullah took care of the self for 25 years, and then he married a woman, and he still treasured her, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted him something when he was 40. Why not look here till we're 40, young people, and those who are above 40, look and know that we look at you so that we can know what is the correct example of how to love, how to have mercy. وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did he do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he encouraged us to be just, and he forbade perverseness, fahsha. Please look up this word. It's not just dirty things on TV. It's a lot more than that. Disrespecting your parents, like looking at your parents dead in the eye and saying, that's fahsha. Uffiyun wa la tanharhuma. But I have supposed to give a whole khutbah about that? Allah said it once. I don't need to say it again. So adl, justice, injustice is fahsha, the dirt that we see around. Try to cover yourself up from that. Try. If you get hurt, keep cleaning the dust off. Keep cleaning it off. The second thing that he gave us was ihsan. Ihsan is destroyed by what? Fahsha, munkar. So you know that Allah can see us right now, right? Fair. You feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted Jummah. Ameen. Now he's accepted this Jummah. You know he sees you now. So why can't he see you outside the $2 movie theater? All I'm saying is when you make the selection, keep Allah in mind. Right? It feels uncomfortable, but it's self-reflection. I can't tell you what to do, what's right and wrong. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, just make sure I'm there all the time. And when you're doing bad things, I'm still there. But the last and most important, وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى, spending on your family members. The opposite to spending on your family members is oppression. وَالْبَغْيِ. So if you haven't said salam to a family member because something went awry in April, it's not April anymore. Find them. Give them your hand. Say, Afshu salam. Assalamu alaikum. Wala dhikrullahi akbar. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. Tabarakta ya dhal jalali wal ikram. حينا وأدخلنا دار السلام يا حي يا قيوم وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. We ask Allah to give us the opportunity as I leave the minbar, make dua to Allah until the prayer begins. Ask Allah for forgiveness. Ask Allah for mercy. And as we say the words, وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, remember Allah.